ESPN presents Major League Baseball Magazine. This week's cover story, Gaylord Perry, pitching his past in college.
It really brought instant credibility to our program, and we attracted some quality players from the very beginning.
We'll open the book on some of the game's more notable quote cases.
Mitzi, Mitzi, Mitzi. So that's what they are. They're now singing the kids, Mitzi, Mitzi, Mitzi.
And we'll feature yet another example of the growing trend toward interactive baseball.
Hi, Tommy. Tommy always knows the camera's on him.
This is Warner Fussell for Major League Baseball Magazine. This summer, 8 years after his retirement, Gaylord Perry will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
We're awful happy to be here. I know I am, and all my friends and family are very excited about it. We're looking forward to July in Cooperstown. I've never been there yet. Looking forward to my first trip there in July.
It's the culmination of a storied career with 8 different teams, including a no-hitter over Bob Gibson in 1968.
There was no outstanding plays. It was just one of those games. The last 3 hitters of that inning was Bobby Tolan, who was a very fast left-handed hitter, Lou Brock, very fast left-handed hitter, and Curt Flood, an outstanding year. Those are the last 3 guys I had. The first guy, I hit the second base, easy out. Brock hit the shortstop, 2 outs. Curt Flood, I didn't throw the ball close to the plate. The umpire said strike 3, and that was it.
Perry won his first Cy Young Award with Cleveland in 1972. 2 years later, he was joined on the Indians by his brother, Jim Perry, who was also a pitcher.
He had been with Cleveland when he first started out of college. He signed with Cleveland Indians and made it in 2.5 years. He's in the big leagues. And then he went to Minnesota. And Detroit, came back to Cleveland to play with me. And I think that year I won 19 games. He won about 15. And so 74 was a very big year for my brother and I to get to know each other again.
Perry won his second Cy Young Award in 78 with the Padres. And for that, he thanks a teammate.
I had a guy named Raleigh Fingers in the bullpen. And what a great relief. I was 40 years old. I won 21 and lost 6. I completed 6 games only. Started probably 37, 38 games. But Raleigh Fingers was up warming up every 8th inning. I was very pleased to turn it over to Raleigh Fingers because I know what a competitor he was. He was the backbone of me winning the Cy Young in San Diego and being the first to ever do it in both leagues.
Whatever success Perry had was always compromised by accusations that he threw a spitball, and Gaylord loved the psychological edge the reputation provided.
That was such a big part of the game, is making the hitter think something. One of the great examples, if I was going to meet Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, Bobby Mercer, George Brett, I would go over like the day before a pitch, I'd coat my hand full of Vaseline, go shake their hand. They would start thinking about it the day before I pitched. So I just used that. Psychologically, I had them. And I needed that help. I didn't have the great fastball or the great curveball. I had determination. And with that, it made me a 300-game winner.
Gaylord Perry, 1 out away from 300. The 2-1 pitch to Randolph. Swung on, ground ball to Cruz. This should do it. He's got it. It's over. Gaylord has 300.
After 22 years, Perry called it quits in 1983. Then came the setbacks, the death of his wife, and the failure of his peanut farm.
The misfortunes you have hurts very much. Some of them you'll never get over. And without my kids and my great friends, I probably wouldn't have survived as well. It's something that will always hurt. No one can get over it, but other people have the same problems.
We caught up with Gaylord in April in Gaffney, South Carolina, where he was serving as coach of the Limestone College baseball team, which he built from scratch in '87.
The athletic director at Limestone College, Craig Drennan, called me, and I came by here 5 times before I said, okay, I'll take the job, because they had no baseball field. They had no baseballs, no bats, absolutely nothing. So I had to go out and recruit players, build a field, and that's how I got started.
He also needed equipment, and this was something the athletic department knew little about.
The great story was the athletic secretary. And when I first came here, they kind of told her, said, hey, you got to cut down him using so many baseballs. And she knew absolutely nothing about baseballs. She says, why do you use so many baseballs? I said, well, we take the ball out there and it gets dirty. She said, well, can't you wash it? And that's like putting it in the washing machine and wash it. So I had to educate these people what it took to play the game of baseball, and you had to be very patient in doing so.
Coaching at Limestone meant more than filling in just the lineup.
You'd have to understand Gaylord as a person. He doesn't expect somebody else to do a lot of his work for him. If the field needs raking and there's nobody around to rake it, he's going to grab a rake and rake it. If it needs cutting, he's going to grab a lawnmower and cut the grass. So Gaylord is a person that gets things done, whether it's with somebody else or whether he does it himself. And I think that's teaching our young people a lot right there. They know that he's not afraid to work.
Got to back each other up now.
Thanks to Gaylord's reputation, recruiting players was a piece of cake.
When I came here, I was a pitcher, so of course seeing him as a pitcher, I jumped on the opportunity. I was licking my chops, so it was the biggest part of my reason to come here. I didn't even know what the school looked like. I'd been here once and didn't care if they had classes or not. I just came here to play baseball.
Coach Perry coached me in Legion Ball my senior year in high school, and he asked me if I would come down here and look at the campus and decided whether or not I wanted to play for him, but looking at the campus was irrelevant. Playing for Gaylord Perry was the thing to do, and so I came down here with them in mind, well, no matter what the campus looked like, I was going to play ball for Coach Perry.
You don't get an opportunity like this very often to play ball for someone as famous as that, and be able to take in some of the knowledge that he's picked up over the years.
Oh, look, the fastball, guys, is going to rotate this way. Now, if your finger happens to get wet on a day like today, Jerry, put it there and it goes this way.
But Coach, what was all this stuff about?
That was a decoy, you know how to...
Trade secrets and memories. Gaylord shared them both.
He tells us about, you see it on TV all the time where Reggie Jackson strikes out and comes out with the bucket. And we asked him about, was it really a wet one? And he said, well, it went down. That's all I'm going to tell you.
We worked on a split.
Is that a split or a spit?
That's a split.
Split, okay.
You're a senior in college. You're going to graduate. You got to know the difference in the pronunciation. Split.
Okay.
Was that what you gave Reggie Jackson so much trouble with? Or?
No, forkball, Reggie.
Okay. Why was he throwing water at you?
He thought I was hot and needed something to cool off. I told you pitching there. I can't take you out early,
But Gaylord's coaching was nothing to spit at.
He keeps you pumped up. He tries to keep you going and motivated all the time. He wants you to give that extra 110% all the time, 150%. You got to keep going. He keeps you pumped up.
Come on, buddy. Got to have you on that base now. Come on.
Come on, Dexter.
All right, Dexter, right there. You're all right. Hey, let's go defense. Come on now. Come on in, Steve. Come on, Steve. That baby. Anyway, get that ball. Come on, Dave. You got to go. Hit it. Yes, sir.
He does teach our players a lot about the game of baseball, but I think he teaches them a lot about the game of life. Coach Perry's had a lot of ups and downs. He's gone through a lot of trials in his own life. He's the epitome of someone who can accept a challenge and overcome it. And our players know that. And they respect him tremendously, not only as a player, but as a person.
When I was a freshman, he was more like a father. Coming away from home for the first time, and with a lot of competition on the field, he was always there. If you fell down, he'd pick you up and pat you on the butt and say, well, just keep going. And he's done it for 4 years now. And the guys that stuck with the program, I think, have gained a lot, in baseball and in life.
Come on.
But frustrated by his budget, Perry resigned from Limestone in May. Still, he created something from nothing, and the roots he planted should grow strong.
We had some instant credibility, and we've had good teams from the very beginning. And, it's been beyond our wildest dreams. It's certainly accomplished much more than we'd ever dreamed it would.
In the news, sleeping on the job. It's okay to do in the dugout, but don't take those sleepy eyes on the field.
A shot under the glove of Sachs. Well, we saw Nope set up well off the outside corner, and the throw back to first, they got him. Wow. Ken Griffey Sr. caught napping. The Yankees throw behind him, and he is tagged out.
The hidden ball trick. Clemens off the rubber. Lyons sneaks in behind with the ball and tags Ozzie out.
Down to Mattingly. He'll step on the bag, and now they'll have to get the tag. And he's safe. He got in there, but Lewis thinks he's out. Espinosa doesn't realize it.
Double play, folks. Wow.
Espinosa at first didn't realize it. Lewis just assumed he was out, and Espinosa went over there and tagged him. He eventually was safe, and what a double play that turned out to be.
Saving face can be hard to do on the base paths, but it hurts more in the batter's box.
Right on the side of the cheek, it looks like. Might have got inside that ear flap.
It certainly did. It looked like it got him right on the nose or in the mouth. It's going to make the eyes water for a little bit. You'll see it come right back up and bam. And then the cheek.
You can wear all the equipment you want, but sometimes the baseball will still find a piece of skin, won't it?
It takes its own bounce.
Around the bunt, and we will see what's going to happen, and Marty Barrett is down. We don't know if that ball came off of his bat right away and then in Marty.
Well, let's take a look and see what happened. Marty is bunting. Squares the bunt. Oh, it went right off his face.
Facing the ball or the camera, some guys just have a knack for getting their face in the way.
Well, Tommy Lasorda's office looks like a photographer's gallery anyway. Pictures lined up 8x10s of all the movie stars. Tommy looks like he just heard us say that. Hi, Tom.
He probably does know what we're talking about.
Always looking up. See, just wave. Look. Hi, Tommy. How you doing, pal? How are you? Tommy always knows the camera's on him, doesn't he?
He was born for Hollywood. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and it's a get foul.
Tommy also still knows the camera's about ready to get on him again because he's standing up and not sitting down. See? There's Tommy.
Right out there in the sunlight where he takes a very nice picture with that swell figure.
He is a beauty.
And now it's time for the Upper Deck Stat of the Week. Nobody does baseball like Upper Deck.
Our Stat of the Week begins with Mike Stanley, who recently came a single away from hitting for the cycle.
Stanley lifts one to deep left. Greenwell on the run to the wall. It is gone. Stanley on his way to third. He'll get there standing with a triple. A homer, a triple, and now a double from Mike Stanley. Yeah, it's ordinarily the easiest parts of the cycle already in the book. It's a single for the cycle. Well, no chance.
No one ever said it was easy to hit for the cycle, but it may be harder than you think.
Remember, know when.
And now, the ongoing effort of Sue Essler and Bill Crabe to visit every major and minor league park in the country.
This is one of the typical skyboxes at Cohen Stadium in El Paso. Typical for here, perhaps, but certainly not typical for many of the teams that we've seen on Sports Tour so far. This is El Paso outfielder Kenny Jackson taking part in the local custom. That is making some money for a home run. The Outlaws players take their hat around front row of the ballpark and collect dollar bills from the helmets. Sometimes doing pretty well. One of the things, though, some of the fans will do is stick the dollar bills right in the net, waiting for the player as he goes by. Live across western Texas brings Sports Tour 91 to Midland from El Paso yesterday.
Here at Midland Angels Stadium, we have horse races. However, there's something very unique about these horse races. They're done manually.
This is the best seat in the house, according to the Midland Angels, and this is a very comfortable seat. And I'm sorry I didn't get to sit here during this game. What an amazing finish. 10-7, the Angels won after being behind 7-1. And certainly one of the best games we've seen so far. Wichita, Kansas got rained out last night, but things look better today. And it looks like we'll be able to play baseball here in Lawrence Dumont Stadium. One of the first things that we see, an artificial turf infield. And it is the first that we've seen in the minor leagues. And it has a grass outfield here. And you wonder if you get some funny hops when the ball suddenly leaves the AstroTurf and gets the natural grass in the outfield. 3-hour drive down from Wichita. We have arrived in Tulsa Drillers Stadium for tonight's game. The 24th on Sports Tour 91 so far. And a few tornado warnings running around, but we're hoping it won't be a problem for tonight's game. There's something about us and baseball in Oklahoma, but about an hour and a half before tonight's game time, this is what the scene looks like outside our car in Tulsa. And we can see a little bit more over here. Several lightning bolts have struck in and around this parking lot. This weather does definitely not look conducive to baseball. Well, we are 0 for 2 in Oklahoma. This game has been rained out for tonight between Tulsa and Shreveport. That's going to do it for Tulsa. And we're off to the next part.
Every ball has to be 3 for 3, and an umpire is always giving us out because nobody has the time for source. Until we call a play, we find the source, and we give it with sound because an umpire...
If you understood him,
no way.
See your doctor.
Baseball is a quotable game with a bevy of quotable characters. And now the essence of those quotes has been captured by author Paul Dixon in a book that has more than 6,000 gems from the diamond.
I actually started collecting these things in 1969, when Marshall McLuhan was quoted right at opening day in the New York Times as saying, baseball is doomed. McLuhan said in 69 that baseball would not survive television in the 70s. And I got so fascinated with this one little quote that I started a file that day.
The venerable Casey Stengel is, of course, baseball's all-time quote master.
Come and join our team and become a great member of a certain other ball club, or 5 or 6 that I know that have numerous ball players that are on their roster, and they say, why don't you join the team? How can you join it unless the man gets ill or the man falls down in his work?
The wonderful thing about Stengel, anything he said about what he said was true. I mean, some of the stuff was just marvelously incoherent, and so incoherent that it took a certain genius to be that incoherent. It almost took a free fall of the mind. Maybe the most colorful and interesting and perplexing moment in the history of the United States Senate was when they brought Casey in to testify on the very serious issue of antitrust and monopoly. And it was just one of the most comic, fascinating moments in the history of the United States Senate.
From the standpoint of what you've been reading, you've got that down very good. But if you are a player...
I'm trying to get it down from your standpoint as a 48-year man in baseball.
That's why
you give me yours.
I've been discharged 15 times and rehired, so you get rehired on ability. And they don't want a good ball player leaving. And I always say a high-priced baseball player should get a high salary, just like a moving picture actor. He should not have to get the same thing as the 25th man on a ball club that's very fortunate that he's sitting there on your ball club.
Stingalese has a prominent place in Dixon's book, but no quote book could be over before it's over without some insight from Yogi.
Berra's stuff is wonderful because it is so coherent, but it doesn't seem to be coherent when you hear it. It's the epitome of a great quote. There are just so many things that he said over the years that are just hysterical. I mean, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. You know, I mean, it's that kind of thing.
These days, Dodger manager Tommy Lasorda heads the list of baseball's most quotable.
There's a silver lining. There's a pot of gold waiting on you.
I mean, it's there. I mean, this is easier than stealing. There it is, a pot of gold waiting for you in Dodger Stadium. Man, they got it buried all over that place.
This stuff is wonderful because he lets himself go. I mean, he had that whole thing about Dodger blue and the heaven being Dodger blue and that wonderful chauvinistic attitude that he has towards the people he's working for.
But to Dixon, Lou Gehrig provided baseball's most memorable quote in his farewell speech.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I think Gehrig's speech is a classic example of where baseball is different than other sports. The verbal tradition comes into its own. I mean, when you realize that baseball has Casey at the bat, which is probably the leading piece of humorous verse ever written, or light verse. It's got Who's on First, which must be the only vaudeville act that kids 11 years old know by heart today. It's got the Gehrig farewell speech, and it's got Stengel's testimony, and you go through all this stuff. It's remarkable.
My company came.
On deck for next week, high school kids in San Francisco press the Giants for some answers.
We haven't got off to a good start, but we have like about 4.5 months to play, and I hope you people won't be like my sports writer that follow me around now, telling me how bad we are and how long we're going to be in last place, and how bad my pitching is, and how bad my hitters are, and how bad my defense is.
I just never knew everything that went on behind the scenes, and now I know that there is a lot more than just who won, who lost.
This is Warner Fussell.
Promotional considerations